What you're about to hear will make some of you uncomfortable, and it should, because this woman didn't just call out Charlie Kirk, she exposed him. The racism, the contempt for black lives, all straight from his mouth. But here's the twist. The very community that once cheered him on is silent now. Angry even, not at him, but at her, for daring to repeat his truth, the same truth that, in the end, cost him everything. This isn't just about Charlie Kirk. This is about America's mirror. And when that reflection shows something ugly, people would rather smash the glass than face what's staring back.
Before the hero rhetoric begins, I would like to refresh your memory on direct quotes said by Charlie Kirk that I've been tracking, along with other people. Specifically, when he spoke on gun violence in the Second Amendment. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price, and that is part of liberty. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. In fact, I think we should reinstate public executions for certain people. On the Civil Rights Act, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the black community. MLK was awful, not a good person. He said one thing he actually didn't believe. We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s. Speaking specifically on Dr. King's legacy, a myth has been created and it has grown totally out of control. I have found the sacred cow of modern America, and speaking not only on Dr. King, but also the black community. Speaking on women's rights, violence against women, sexual assault, rape, and consent. It is so materially insane to think that 1 in 5 American women will be raped in their life, meaning that they're lying about being raped, that they're lying about being sexually assaulted, like a fraternity guy and a sorority girl, hooking up. There's a lot of gray, murky area there. Charlie, I don't wish any ill will on you ever. I'm not happy of what happened to you today. This is only but the tip of the iceberg of some of the things that you've said. The fact that you're proud of that, I really hope this brush with mortality does for you what it did for me. In April of 2020, I almost lost my life in the line of duty as a police officer. And we can talk all we want about, we can be ready to meet our maker, that whenever it's my time, I'm ready to go. But the moment you realize how fragile your life is, and you really are the one being rolled into a trauma room, and you're not sure you're going to make it, or even if you do come out of it, you're not really sure if you're going to recover fully, if ever your life will ever be the same. And when your life flashes before your eyes, I wish this for you. I hope that this instance radically changes your life for the better the way it did mine. I completely changed everything. I left law enforcement and realized I could do more good outside of that uniform than ever. I realized how incestuous their relationship is with racism, sexism, and violence against minority groups, and creating laws that not only ostracize, marginalize, but cause the most incredible harm against people who don't deserve it. And all it does is fuel a system that was built on genocide, built on destroying the lives of people that don't have the same skin color as you and me. Because listen here, bub, you and I can't control that our skin color is what it is. We can't control the privilege that we were born into. But wouldn't it be incredible if you used it for good, instead of saying stuff like this? I've been keeping track, slowly, day after day, because just remember, the Nuremberg trials were unsuccessful because people didn't write stuff down, didn't write names. Not only is yours on the list, but when there is a reckoning in this country, when somehow good wins over evil, and evil is in court, and evil is displayed for all to see, and evil has lost, what side of history do you want to be on? Do you really want to spend the rest of your life locked up in solitary, or even worse, in maximum, with a whole group of people who will remember this, who also have access to social media, who watch everything that you say, and they're keeping notes? Do you really think that saying the things you're saying is going to actually do any good? You can have really firm stances based on your upbringing, your culture, your background, everything that has made you who you are today. You didn't even start out liking Trump, and it's giving you soldier soul. I can't control what you do and don't do, but I know one thing. History always repeats itself, it just changes font. And our ancestors will always remember what we said, what we did, what we didn't say, and what we didn't do. I can't believe, deep, deep down, that you would be satisfied with leaving a legacy behind that was okay with violence against children, against the elderly, against communities, including the black community that literally built this nation, regardless if they wanted to or not. No one came over to America and put people like you and me on a ship and forced us into servitude under the most horrible situations. Was there a 0.01% who were kind? Sure. But there are abolitionists, activists, and politicians that are even on our money who said absolutely not. Just because slavery is legal, just because certain things are legal, doesn't make it right. You position yourself to have a microphone. Congrats. Anybody can do that with a phone. Anybody can do it even without a phone. You've mocked everyone who's paved the path for you to have what you have today. It's disgusting. You can't even have an adult conversation without screaming at people, without interrupting them. You have no ability to effectively communicate with anyone around you unless they agree with you. That screams how immature you are. Not even immature. It screams that you are fearful that someone else might actually teach you something. A leader doesn't have to say that they're a leader. A leader doesn't have to demand that the room listen to them. A leader doesn't have to do anything other than walk into a room and they have a presence. They have a presence that helps calm, that brings clarity, that moves people forward into blessings, into magnanimous positivity. I truly can't believe deep down a gentleman that started out not being on the side of Trump. It's okay if you come out and say you were wrong. But if you double down, if you stand 10 toes down on that.
The auditorium falls silent. Then Charlie Kirk's voice cuts through the air like a blade. Of course, we've pandered to the blacks. They're in every TV commercial. They get more privileges to come into society. They come into every college on preferential with lower test scores. The crowd of white college students erupts, cheering, applauding, recording on their phones. This isn't 1955 Alabama. This is 2023 America. And the man speaking isn't some backwoods segregationist hiding behind a white hood. He's Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, conservative kingmaker, political influencer with 7 million followers, a man who built an empire by telling white America exactly what they wanted to hear about black people. But here's what they don't tell you about Charlie Kirk's rise to power. Every dollar he made, every follower he gained, every stage he commanded, it was all built on one foundation: black pain. Welcome to the channel, amazing people. I'm your host, and today we're dissecting how one man weaponized an entire race's suffering for profit. Hit that like button, share this with everyone who needs to understand this truth, and subscribe, because they definitely don't want this conversation reaching you. The year is 2012. Barack Obama is president. A young white man from suburban Chicago watches the election results with growing anxiety. His name is Charlie Kirk. He's 19 years old, college dropout, no job, no prospects. But he has something else. A burning resentment that black people are getting ahead while white people like him are being left behind. This resentment will make him rich. Kirk doesn't just start a political organization, he starts a movement. Turning Point USA. The mission? Convince young white Americans that they're the real victims of discrimination in their own country. The timing is perfect. Obama's presidency has triggered white anxiety across America. The Tea Party is rising, social media is exploding, and Charlie Kirk positions himself as the voice of white grievance for the digital age. But Kirk's genius isn't in what he says, it's in how he says it. He doesn't use racial slurs, he doesn't burn crosses, he uses statistics, charts, graphs. He wraps his racism in the language of facts and logic. Black people are only 13% of the population, he tells cheering crowds, yet they commit 55% of murders. The crowd goes wild, not because the statistic is accurate, but because it gives them permission to hate without feeling guilty about it. This becomes Kirk's signature move. Take complex social issues, strip away all context, reduce them to inflammatory sound bites that confirm white people's worst assumptions about black people. But then, something happens that changes everything. George Floyd, May 25, 2020, Minneapolis. The world watches in horror as Derek Chauvin kneels on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. A black man begs for his life, calls for his mother, dies on camera. The video sparks the largest civil rights protests in American history. Millions of Americans of all races take to the streets demanding justice, demanding change, demanding that black lives matter. Charlie Kirk sees something else, an opportunity. While families mourn and communities burn, Kirk takes to his platforms with a message that shocks even his critics. He calls George Floyd a scumbag, a criminal, a drug addict who deserved what happened to him. The psychological cruelty is breathtaking. A black man has been lynched on camera, and Kirk's response is to attack his character, to dismiss the pain of an entire community, to turn a moment of national reckoning into content for his brand. But this isn't Kirk's first attack on Black America. He's been building his anti-Black brand for years. When Black Lives Matter emerges after Trayvon Martin's death, Kirk doesn't just disagree with their tactics. He questions their right to exist. He claims BLM stands for burn, loot, and murder. He turns a movement seeking basic human dignity into an acronym of destruction. When Black students protest police brutality on college campuses, Kirk doesn't engage with their concerns. He mocks their pain. He organizes counter-protests. He brings his roadshow to campuses specifically to antagonize Black students. The pattern is always the same. Black people express pain. Charlie Kirk monetizes that pain by telling white people it's fake. But Kirk's most insidious weapon isn't his attacks on Black movements. It's his assault on Black intelligence. He popularizes the narrative that diversity programs are reverse racism, that affirmative action is discrimination against white people, that Black success in corporate America is illegitimate. When Ketanji Brown Jackson is nominated to the Supreme Court, Kirk doesn't question her qualifications. He dismisses her as a diversity hire. The first Black woman nominated to the highest court becomes a checkbox in his narrative. This isn't political opposition. This is psychological warfare designed to make Black Americans question their achievements and make white Americans resent Black success. The impact is devastating. Every Black professional who hears Kirk's rhetoric knows he's talking about them. Every Black student wonders if classmates see them as unqualified. Every Black leader faces whispered questions about whether they belong. Kirk has weaponized imposter syndrome and turned it into a political movement. But perhaps Kirk's most damaging contribution is rewriting the history of racism itself. He doesn't just deny systemic racism exists today. He argues it never existed at all. Slavery wasn't that bad. Jim Crow was exaggerated. The civil rights movement was unnecessary. When discussing reparations, Kirk doesn't engage with economic arguments about stolen wealth. He dismisses the concept as a scam. Black Americans trying to get something for nothing. This historical revisionism is strategic. By erasing the history of racism, Kirk can dismiss contemporary complaints about inequality. If racism never existed, then racial disparities must be Black people's fault. The psychological manipulation is sophisticated and cruel. Kirk takes centuries of documented oppression and turns it into myth. He takes ongoing discrimination and makes it invisible. He takes legitimate grievances and transforms them into personal failings. But why does this message resonate with millions of Americans? The answer lies in white guilt and racial resentment. Many white Americans feel uncomfortable with racism's history. They don't want to confront that their advantages came at Black people's expense. They don't want to acknowledge systemic barriers still exist. They don't want to feel responsible for addressing inequality. Charlie Kirk offers them escape. He tells them racism is over, that Black people are actually privileged, that white people are the real victims. This message is worth millions. Kirk's organization raises tens of millions annually. His speaking fees reach 6 figures. His books become bestsellers. His social media following grows into the millions. He's discovered enormous profit in telling white people that Black suffering is fake and white grievance is real. But the cost is measured in Black lives and dignity. Every time Kirk dismisses police brutality, Black families bury children. Every time he attacks affirmative action, Black students face barriers. Every time he denies systemic racism, Black workers encounter discrimination. His words aren't just rhetoric. They're weapons causing real harm to real people. The Black community's response is swift and unforgiving. Social media erupts with fact checks. Black intellectuals write detailed rebuttals. Community leaders organize boycotts. But Kirk doesn't engage. He dismisses responses as emotional reactions from people who can't handle facts. He portrays himself as a brave truth-teller facing an angry mob. This reveals Kirk's strategy. He's not interested in honest debate. He's interested in provocation and profit. The angrier Black people become, the more his white audience rallies. The more criticism he faces, the more he claims victimhood. He's turned Black pain into white entertainment and Black anger into white solidarity. The pattern becomes predictable. Kirk makes inflammatory statements. Black Americans respond with outrage and evidence. Kirk claims he's being silenced. His audience donates more money. It's a perpetual motion machine of racial resentment, powered by Black suffering and white grievance. But then Kirk's rhetoric begins radicalizing his audience beyond his control. Young white men don't just absorb his talking points about Black inferiority. They internalize his message that white people are under attack and need to fight back. Some see violence as legitimate response. January 6th includes many Kirk supporters radicalized by his rhetoric about stolen elections and threatened white identity. White supremacist violence in Charlottesville, Buffalo, El Paso is committed by young men consuming content similar to Kirk's messaging. Kirk helped create a monster he couldn't control. His audience took implicit messages about racial conflict and made them explicit. His dog whistles became air raid sirens. Even as his rhetoric contributes to real-world violence, Kirk denies responsibility. He claims his words are misinterpreted, that he never advocated violence, that he's unfairly blamed for others' actions. This reveals the fundamental cowardice at Kirk's project's heart. He's willing to profit from racial division, but unwilling to accept consequences. He wants extremist rhetoric's benefits without accountability. Black communities see through this cowardice immediately. They understand Kirk's words have consequences, that his rhetoric creates climates of hostility and violence, that his denial is another form of violence against Black dignity. Ask yourself this question. Do you think Kirk truly believed what he said about Black people? Or was he simply cashing in on white fear and resentment for personal gain? The evidence suggests both. Kirk seemed to genuinely believe in white superiority and Black inferiority, but he also understood these beliefs were profitable. He found a way to monetize racism and turn hatred into business. This combination of sincere bigotry and calculated opportunism made Kirk particularly dangerous. He wasn't just a cynical grifter exploiting racial tensions. He was a true believer who discovered his beliefs were marketable. The result was a feedback loop of radicalization. Kirk's genuine racism attracted like-minded audiences. Their enthusiasm and financial support reinforced his beliefs and encouraged extremism. The more extreme he became, the more his audience grew and the more money he made. This explains why Kirk's rhetoric became increasingly inflammatory over time. He wasn't just responding to market forces, he was being shaped by them. The audience he created was now creating him. When Kirk was shot and killed at Utah Valley University in 2025, Black America's response was complex and revealing. There was no celebration of death, no joy at loss of life, but there was also no mourning for a man who spent his career attacking Black humanity. Instead, there was collective exhale, a sense that a source of constant psychological violence had finally been silenced. Recognition that while Kirk's death was tragic, his life had been tragedy for Black Americans. Social media filled with complex reflections on Kirk's legacy. Black Americans acknowledged his death's tragedy while refusing to sanitize his life. They expressed sympathy for his family while maintaining his ideas were harmful and dangerous. One viral tweet captured the sentiment: "I don't celebrate death, but I also don't mourn those who built careers on our suffering." Charlie Kirk spent his life telling America we didn't deserve dignity. Why should we pretend to mourn him now? This response revealed something profound about Black resilience and moral clarity. Even facing someone who caused immense harm, Black Americans maintained their humanity. They didn't celebrate death, but they didn't pretend Kirk's life was anything other than destructive. The response also revealed the depth of pain Kirk's rhetoric had caused. For millions of Black Americans, his death felt like the end of a long nightmare. They had endured years of psychological violence from someone with massive platform and significant influence. But Kirk's death's aftermath also revealed the institutional nature of the problem he represented. Within days of his passing, other conservative figures stepped forward to fill his void. Same talking points appeared on different platforms. Same narratives found new voices. Kirk hadn't been the source of anti-Black rhetoric in conservative politics. He'd been a symptom of deeper systemic issues. His death didn't end the problem. It revealed how replaceable individual actors are in oppression systems. This realization was both sobering and empowering for Black Americans. It confirmed that fighting for dignity and equality couldn't be won by defeating individual opponents. It required challenging systems and structures that produced and rewarded people like Kirk. The question haunting many Black Americans after Kirk's death wasn't whether his rhetoric would continue. It was whether America would learn anything from his life and death. Would his assassination serve as a wake-up call about extremist rhetoric's dangers? Or would it simply create a martyr for his cause? Early signs suggested Kirk's death would further radicalize supporters rather than moderate views. Conservative media portrayed him as left-wing violence victim. His followers blamed his death on the very people he'd spent years attacking. His martyrdom became another culture war weapon. This response confirmed what many Black Americans long understood about white supremacist movement's nature. They weren't interested in truth, justice, or genuine dialogue. They were interested in power, profit, and maintaining racial hierarchy. Kirk's death hadn't ended this dynamic. It had simply revealed its true nature more clearly. The real tragedy of Charlie Kirk's life wasn't his death. It was what he chose to do with his life. Born into privilege and opportunity, he used advantages to attack society's most vulnerable members. Given platform and influence, he chose to spread division and hatred. He could have been a bridge builder. He could have used privilege to amplify marginalized voices. He could have worked to heal racial wounds that continue dividing America. Instead, he chose to pour salt in those wounds, to profit from pain, to build his career on Black suffering's foundation. That choice revealed something essential about his character and about the system that rewarded him for making it. In America, there's money to be made and fame to be gained by attacking black people. There are audiences eager to hear that black suffering is fake and white grievance is real. Charlie Kirk understood this market and exploited it ruthlessly. He gave white America what it wanted to hear about black America, regardless of truth or consequences. The fact that he was rewarded for this choice with wealth, fame, and influence reveals something disturbing about American values. We claim to believe in equality and justice, but we reward those who attack equality and justice. We say we want unity and healing, but we elevate those who profit from division and hatred. Kirk's success was a mirror reflecting America's true priorities, and what it showed was ugly. But his death also revealed something hopeful about Black America's response to hatred and violence. Despite years of attacks, despite constant provocation, despite every reason to respond with hatred, Black Americans maintained moral clarity and human dignity. They refused to celebrate death. They refused to sink to Kirk's level. They refused to let his hatred transform them into something they weren't. This response demonstrated the strength and resilience that carried Black Americans through centuries of oppression. It showed that no amount of hatred could destroy the fundamental humanity Kirk spent his career trying to deny. In the end, Charlie Kirk's legacy will be defined not by what he built, but by what he destroyed. Not by bridges he constructed, but by ones he burned. Not by healing he promoted, but by wounds he inflicted. He'll be remembered as a cautionary tale about choosing hatred over love, division over unity, profit over principle. His life will serve as a reminder of what happens when privilege is used as weapon rather than tool for justice. But he'll also be remembered as symbol of a system that rewards those who attack the vulnerable and punishes those who defend them. His success revealed the market for hatred that exists in America and institutions that profit from maintaining racial division. The question for America moving forward is whether we'll learn from Kirk's life and death or continue rewarding those who follow his example. Will we choose leaders who build bridges or those who burn them? Will we support voices that heal or those that harm? The answer will determine not just Black Americans' future, but America's future itself. Because a nation that rewards hatred cannot long endure. A society that profits from division will eventually tear itself apart. Charlie Kirk's death marked the end of one chapter in America's ongoing struggle with race and identity. But it wasn't the end of the story. The system that created him, rewarded him, and will replace him remains intact. The real question isn't why Black Americans hated Charlie Kirk. The question is why America loved him enough to make him rich and famous for hating them. That's the conversation we need to have. That's the system we need to change. That's the future we need to build. What do you think? Was Charlie Kirk a true believer or a calculated opportunist? How do we prevent the next Charlie Kirk from rising to power? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if it opened your eyes to how hatred becomes profitable in America, and subscribe for more content that exposes the systems they don't want you to understand. Until next time, remember that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, and the cost of silence is always higher than the price of speaking truth.